Thanks, Mike. Good evening, everybody. My name is Selby, and I moved here from the great state of Massachusetts to be Leavenworth City Administrator 2 years ago. As the mayor stated earlier today and at the last visiting session, Leavenworth has had its ups and downs throughout the last century, and the decision to save the miracle town of Leavenworth through Project Life and the Bavarian theme has resulted in the Leavenworth that we have today, a highly attractive destination that welcomes an estimated 3 million visitors every year. And whether we like it or not, the city of Leavenworth, the city budget, is dependent on this tourism economy. Now, I don't intend this lecture to be a municipal finance one-on-one, but I do want to explain what I mean by being dependent on tourism. And I think a lot of you already understand this from some of the remarks that we heard earlier about the pros and cons. The city's budget, like your household budget, is based on ins and outs, revenues and expenditures. But unlike your paycheck, which you can spend any way you see fit, if your spouse agrees, the city's revenues have much tighter restrictions on how they can be used. The city operates with three different major revenue types or fund types: the general fund, the street fund, and enterprise funds. I'll first touch on enterprise funds, which are like little micro businesses within the city. We've got water, sewer, stormwater, and garbage, and parking enterprise funds. And these funds operate based on user fees rather than on taxes. And sometimes, as was the case with the general fund during COVID-19, the general fund can be used to supplement an enterprise fund that is in financial distress. But the money cannot flow the other way. So once funds are in a designated enterprise fund, they can go nowhere else but that enterprise fund. So water rates pay for us for the water treatment plant and for the distribution, just like parking pays for our Glacier parking lot that's under construction right now next to Argonaut. That's a $5 million project that's not costing any taxpayers any dollars. That's being entirely funded by our parking enterprise fund. But our enterprise funds can't be used to, say, patch a pothole in front of your house or to build a playground. They must be tied to the fund and the fund's purpose. So that's enterprise funds. Other major revenues that the city relies on include property tax, utility tax, sales tax, and lodging tax. Lodging tax being our most restrictive, but I'll get to that in the end. Now, contrary to what a lot of people think, property taxes pay for just a fraction of our overall operations. Per Washington state law, property taxes can only be raised by 1% a year. So in 2024, the city council adopted our ad valorem tax increase of 1%, which had amounted to an increase of about $7,000. So who pays property taxes to the city? Just the people in city limits. So if you live in the UGA or if you live in the county, then you're paying taxes to the county. You're not paying taxes to the city. When a property owner in the city limits pays a property tax bill, about 11% goes to the city. So anybody can go to the Chelan County Assessor's office, pull up your property, and pull up where your property tax. This is my house. I have an assessed value, appraised value of $518, and I'm generating $416 to the city's coffers on an annual basis. So that's about 11%. The remaining property taxes you can see here, about 56% goes to the schools, 3.6% to the library, 8% to the hospital, just under 8% to the fire district. The county gets almost as much as the city at 9.2%, and 4% goes to other. That's the port, that's veteran services, that's mental health services, and it's also the Upper Valley PRSA. So when you guys, and thank you for doing so, voted to increase your levy to the PRSA, it's less than 1% of your overall tax bill that is going up. Again, the city only receives property taxes from those properties within the city limits, which is less than 1.5 square miles. And because of our tourist economy, we have a pretty healthy split between residential and commercial. We have, in this town, roughly 61%, 61.5% of the properties are residential properties, and the rest, 38.5%, are commercial. Typically, you'll see a 90-10 or an 80-20 split. And the commercial includes our shops, restaurants, stores, and it does include multifamily housing units. So how much does that bring us in? Every year, or this year, we will anticipate $726,929 in property tax revenue coming into the city coffers. Just to let you know, or just to put that into perspective of what some of our expenses are, just our liability insurance for the city exceeds our property tax take. Our public safety services, so this includes our sheriffs, emergency management, our prosecution and jail services, that's just over $850,000. And then our parks operation budget is almost $925,000 for 2024. So overall, property tax revenues fund just 13% of the city's annual operating budget. Now, thankfully, this is not our only revenue source. We also tax your utilities. So when you get a bill from the city, water, stormwater, sewer, if you get your cable bill, get your electrical bill from the PUD, you'll see a line item on there that is taxed to the city. And that generates us an additional $750,000 in tax revenue. That exceeds our property tax take. So the bulk of the revenue that comes to the city is from sales tax. And that's why I say that we are so dependent on this city's tourism economy. The sales tax rate in Leavenworth is 8.6%. So the state gets 6.5 of that. The county gets a slice. The Link gets a slice. There's someone else in there that gets a slice, and I forgot who they were. But we get 1.15% of the 8.6% sales tax. So what that means is for every $100 spent within city limits, the city receives $1.15. And the way we direct this is 10 cents of that goes to public safety, 47 cents goes in the general fund, and we dedicate 58 cents to our street fund. Of course, the city's sales tax revenue is not entirely driven by tourists. Locals are also spending money in the city at the hardware store, the gas station, eating and drinking in our lovely Bavarian downtown. But I hate to say it, if you can't find underwear in town, I would rather you buy it on Amazon and have it shipped to your address in the city limits than to go to Wenatchee to buy your underwear. Because if you shop online and it's delivered to an address in the city limits, the city gets that $1.15 for every $100 you spend. So that overall, in 2023, the city received $2.75 million in sales tax revenue. So now let's take a minute to talk about the largest source of revenue for the city, which is our hotel motel tax, also known as lodging tax. The city's lodging tax rate is 5%. And we're on track to generate about $4.5 million this year in lodging taxes. And that's more than all the other taxes the city receives combined. However, according to state law, these funds can only be used for the promotion of tourism or the construction and operation of tourism-related facilities. So the Front Street restroom project that's under construction, that's a $2 million project. That is being paid for 100% by lodging tax. This fest hall that we're in, this is a tourism facility. And lodging tax is being used to pay off the bond that voters approved to buy and to renovate this old fruit warehouse into this lovely tourist facility that you see. And we're fortunate that we can use this for events like this or community engagement nights. But if it weren't for Oktoberfest taking place here and the Village of Lights taking place here, then this would not be considered a tourism facility and we wouldn't have been able to utilize lodging taxes to pay for it. So we are as creative as we can be with the use of our lodging taxes. For instance, we collected zip code data a few years ago. We determined that about 25% of the users pre-COVID using the pool were from outside 50 miles from the city. So we justified the use of 25% of the pool operating budget coming from lodging taxes, and that has not yet been questioned by our auditor. So we can use that, but what we can't do is, say, use lodging taxes to build a community center that has an occasional attraction that tourists might go to, like a movie. So how does the city spend its lodging taxes? Well, about 20% goes to the Chamber of Commerce. About 15% goes to the Leavenworth area promotions. They're out there advertising and drawing people into town. And we're very creative with how we use our lodging taxes by using this very restrictive fund on all the improvements for our downtown Bavarian core, because we consider that a tourist facility. So the big belly trash cans that were just rolled out, those solar compacting trash cans, those were funded with lodging tax. We charge as much of our public works activity to lodging tax as we can, including these trash cans, but also personnel costs, operational costs for parks, the hanging flower baskets, that's all paid for lodging tax. The porta-johns, right now because the Fort Street restrooms are closed, we've opened up the fest hall and we're paying Pacific Security to be here to manage it while we're doing it. That's all paid for by lodging taxes. And of course, all of our festivals, security and support comes from lodging tax. So this chart shows the growth, and we're talking about tourism tonight, and this is how our tax revenue has grown since 2015. So that's motel, hotels tax there. Retail sales tax is tracking just below it. This is parking. Now, it's not a tax, it's a revenue, but we threw in here just to show our visitation. And in 2021 was when we turned on the on-street meters, and you can see how that has impacted our parking revenue. So again, living and working in a business tourist community, as wonderful and desirable as it is, has its challenges. We know, we get it, we all live here. But that's why I wanted to share with you how important our tourism economy is to the city's budget. And also wanted to stress that we don't have the freedom and flexibility to spend our tourism dollars in every way that we would like to. So as a tourist town, we're dependent on the money our visitors spend in the city to provide the services that businesses and residents depend on, like our parks, our streets, and special places like the Fest Hall.
That was really good.